We were heading to one of the most awaited stops in our trip and one of the most popular tourist attractions in central Kentucky. Yes, Bourbon Country. Most of the famous distilleries are clustered in the area between Bardstown, Lexington, and Louisville. Therefore, we decided to stay in KO8 in Shepherdsville, which was halfway between Bardstown and Louisville. It was a good choice.
Is it a pull through?
Yeah. The staff was very friendly and helpful.
Thank you, gentlemen. So far, so good.
Thank you. Thank you for your help.
Hey, don't drive away yet. We're ready to go. They're like, we're on it.
Well, we just got here.
Yeah, right? They're like, if you're stopping here, we want to stop down and get a doctor.
They were very responsive when we needed an urgent help to jump Bronco's battery, which kept discharging. As we learned later, that was the result of the improper wiring of the flat towing system. In April, the campground was half empty and therefore pretty quiet. Actually, we were the only one there using the KOA's famous playgrounds. Yes, we did. Wait for it. Do you like this campground?
Yeah, I mean, the service is good. The sites are reasonable, they're decent.
Do you think it's a nice month to do Bourbon Trail, April?
Yeah, I think the crowds were probably less. And, you know, I mean, this area is probably really hopping in the summer. It's a big vacation area.
We like KOA, but when it's not very crowded, but
Yeah.
it's usually very crowded. But in April, this one is looks very empty.
They really promote family.
And they have a nice playground here, and there is a pool which is not opened yet, so that's why not so many people yet. So
Yeah,
works very well for us.
yeah. And not only that, but where else can you go jump on the big bubble? Okay. Can you do it one more time without hurting yourself?
Without hurting myself, I'll try my
Breathe on
best.
Higher, higher. Come on, you can do higher than that. Don't fall. Don't fall. You're gonna hurt your little puppy. So what did you think? What do you think? Was that good exercise?
It's actually not easy.
Well, you certainly didn't make it look easy.
I wasn't grateful. They had plenty of green areas for enjoyable dog walks. We had only 4 full days to enjoy the Bourbon Trail. Plus, our visit to the Bluegrass state coincided with the weekend of the Kentucky Derby. Although we had to leave before this Saturday's main event, we still managed to have a peek inside the premises. But the Bourbon Trail was the main and first on our list. The Bluegrass byways winding through Bourbon Country with its rolling meadows made for a great road trip itself. The roads connecting Louisville, Bardstown, and Frankfort in a large triangle taking in numerous distilleries were beautiful in spring. The classic Kentucky Bourbon Trail was established in 1999. It is not a specific route with distilleries alongside, as I thought, but a cluster of 19 signature distilleries which one can visit in any order and as many of them as time permits. Unfortunately, we had very little time. Therefore, our trail was quite short and included only 4 distilleries. But from my point of view, the best ones. The first distillery on our trail was the Bardstown Bourbon Company. It is one of the newest, founded in 2014, and the largest distilleries in America, set on 100 acres of active farmland in the heart of the bourbon capital of the world, Bardstown. The distillery is really impressive with its scale and modern approach to bourbon production. And they have a wide range of visitor tours and experiences to explore. We had a great tour guide.
Thank you all for joining me. My name is Stacy. Just like the store, I like the parade, all right? What we're going to be doing today, we're going to be tasting out of 3 different barrels. So we're going to be tasting out of a wheated bourbon barrel, we're going to be tasting out of a rye bourbon barrel, and the last one's going to be a bit of a surprise. I don't want to spoil the entirety of it.
Did you buy all those tastings and stuff?
Yes.
Or did you get some for yourself?
That doesn't mean that you just want it down here, right?
So we're going to share all of them.
Yeah.
You want me to be able to drive home, right?
So now that I got all my ducks in a row, welcome. So we started out with 2 rick houses back in 2016. We started distilling September of 2016, but since then we have grown to be one of the top 10 whiskey producers here in the U.S. We make 7.5 million proof gallons of whiskey per year by volume. So we started out with 2 rick houses, and now we have 14. All right, guys, so we're going to make our way in. We're going to be in the midst of the rick house. I do want to say that they're non-climate controlled. So that means Mother Nature's doing her thing out here. These barrels breathe in the bourbon in the summer and then push it back out in the winter. So you might see a couple of barrels that are leaking. Absolutely normal. Just stick your mouth underneath it. You're good. Come on in. But welcome into the Rick House, guys. This is Rick House K. This one was built in 2021. So it's still a very new Rick House. And again, this house is about 32,500 barrels altogether. So each layer of 3 barrels makes up 1 story. This rick house is 7 stories tall. So, as the barrels go up, the temperature also rises. And these barrels are non-rotated. So we do not rotate any of these barrels. We want to see a difference in every last one of them. And that's what this glass is for as well. We want to see what happens with a bit of sunlight added to the barrels. Barrels normally do not see a whole lot of sunlight. It's pretty dark inside of the rick houses, except for this one where it's light and bright. It smells really good, right? It's really nice. So trying to see if it makes a difference. But since this was built in 21, we haven't seen a whole lot of difference yet. So we work with a lot of different brands, as I was mentioning before, over 35, and I can disclose some of those. So we're talking High West, Bellmead, Kentucky Owl, Calumet Farms, even Jefferson's Ocean was one of our first collaboratives that we worked with to help make their product.
You reuse the barrels?
For whiskey, yeah. For bourbon, you can only use that barrel once. It has to be a brand new charred barrel every time for bourbon. But again, we are reusing a lot of these barrels for whiskeys. We'll also reuse them for our old fashions and Manhattans that we barrel age here on site. Are you guys ready to try out of the barrel? All right. So we are going to be trying again out of 3 barrels today. We're going to be trying a wheated bourbon. That's going to be the first one that we start out with. Now I will let you know that this bad boy is cask strength. If you've ever heard of cask strength, barrel proof, foolproof, those all mean the same thing. It just means what's coming out of the barrel without water added. So you can proof down a bourbon to say 80 to 90 proof, but this out of the barrel is at 120 proof. Okay, so 60% alcohol content. We're getting started right today. No. Has anybody ever taken out of a barrel before? I'm seeing some yes, some no. So this is called a whiskey thief. It's pretty much like a giant copper straw. I like to call it the spirit stick because stealing sounds bad. No. But there's a hole on the top and a hole on the bottom. I open this up. This is called a bung, right? It is made of poplar. It's a lightweight wood. I can pull it in and out anytime I want. And I can stick this bad boy in and I'm gonna siphon out some bourbon for you guys. Now you might find some char floating in your glass, okay? Please don't be afraid. Comes directly from the barrel. There's nothing wrong with it. It's considered a good luck in Kentucky. It's also a great source of fiber. Okay? Well-balanced diet, guys. We like to say that wheat is sweet. What that means is wheat is a passive, soft grain. So it's going to blend really well with corn. Corn is already sweet, and for bourbon, you have to have at least 51% of it to be a bourbon. So 51% corn, your secondary grain is what's going to give you your flavor, right? Your main flavors. So wheat is sweet, rye is dry or spicy. So we're going to start out with a milder sip.
The reason why I haven't known you is you're very new, so
Yeah.
I'll certainly look for you moving forward.
We're 6 years old, so we don't really have anything older than 6 years as of right now. I think you'll be good.
Good this time.
There we go. And just a little. Yeah. I'm going to give all of you these glasses. They are called KBT tasters. KBT standing for Kentucky Bourbon Trail. These are the official glasses of the Bourbon Trail. And I'm pouring our Fusion Series number 9 in there. So our Fusion Series is a blend of young bourbon and old bourbon. So we're borrowing a cup of sugar from our neighbors. Again, while we waited for our own product to age. So we have 2 4-years in here and 1 12-year blended in. But these glasses are for you to keep. Okay? This is my little gift to you as a thank you for coming in.
Thank you. I did win something.
You did, yes! So again, this is a 12-year Kentucky bourbon, 75 corn, 13 rye, 12 malted barley. If you're familiar with mash bills, you might know who it is. If you're not, the internet knows. I think it's pretty good. Again, it's an easier sip, right? It is now my duty as a tour guide to take you into the gift shop, okay? Exit.
All tours exit the
But what I want to do, I know it's like Disneyland, right? But what I want to do whenever we get into the gift shop is I want to wrap those glasses up for you. Okay? Just as a thank you for coming in. I think if you want to get a couple pictures, feel free to, but here in just a minute, we're going to make our way back now, okay?
Thank you.
Bardstown is in the list of the most beautiful small towns in America by USA Today. It's pretty, has a lot of historic buildings, 48 they claim. We decided to have lunch in one of those. Liked the historic building, not so much the food.
This is a historic building. They say Talbot Tavern.
Well, that one looks more historic. Look at that one.
And we used the wait time for learning about the bourbon.
Interesting book.
All bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon. What is bourbon? Bourbon whiskey is a distinctive product of the United States by Act of Congress, May 4th, 1964. Code of Federal Regulations, Title 27, Part 5.22, the standard of identity. The mash bill recipe must be at least 51% corn. It must be aged in new charred oak containers. No additives except water, no coloring or flavor. It must be distilled to no more than 160 proof. My word, that's almost pure alcohol. It must enter the barrel at no more than 125 proof. It must be bottled at no less than 80 proof.
Yeah.
The next distillery on our trail was Maker's Mark. It was fantastic. Actually, our favorite. Unfortunately, filming was not permitted, only photos. The tour at Maker's Mark Distillery at the beautiful Star Hill Farm in Loretta was a tour into the past.
It's pretty here.
The tour focused on the history and Maker's method of making bourbon. They let you see every step from the corn grinding to the final bottling.
Thank you. Well, they're going to follow me and we're going to head outside. Like I said, don't drink that. Come on this way. Yeah, before you get your bourbon, you have to be tortured and listen to me talk. So come on down and in. Well, I want to welcome you all to Maker's Mark.
There is no videotaping allowed of the tour, but picture. I love this view of the property. And it is one of the first views that the Samuels family had. So he came up with our recipe. 70% corn, 16% soft red winter wheat, and 14% malty barley. Soft red winter wheat, that is what's gonna give us that sweeter taste. Once he came up with the recipe, then he started looking for properties. He had 200 properties he could choose from. He chose this one in 1953, paid $35,000 for it. So here in a bit, I do want to take you down. I'm going to tell you more about the grapes. So right now, though, we're going to try this yummy stuff. What I want to do first is I want to nose it. So kind of part your lips a little bit, breathe in through your mouth, because if you do it with your mouth closed, you're not really going to get those flavors. So part that lip a little bit and breathe in. So go ahead and do that. Smell those wonderful vanillas and caramels. All right. So cheers to you all. Thanks for coming to Makers.
Thanks for having us.
After warm welcoming, we headed to our first stop, the distillery. There is a lot of history to Maker's story, and Bill's Samuel wife, Margie, was a big part of this story. Margie insisted that for every dollar that went into making the bourbon, $1 would go towards building and ground restoration. It definitely shows beautiful estate. Production of every kind of whiskey, including bourbon, begins with the mash bill. Maker's Mark is the only bourbon distillery producing just one brand of bourbon based on their unique mash bill of 70% corn, 16% soft red winter wheat, and 14% malted barley. We walked through the whole distilling process: fermentation in cypress wooden vats, distillation in copper column and pot stills, and tried a white dog, which is unaged raw whiskey. On from the distillery, we made our way to the label room. All labels are printed and cut on site. Packaging was all Margie's genius, from the unique bottle shape to the hand-torn label originally, to the world-famous and trademarked red dipping wax seal. It was said that Margie is why you buy the first bottle, and Bill Sr. is why you buy the second. Barrels used to age Maker's Mark bourbon are made from the Ozarks forest oak. Their casks are medium charged. From labeling, we headed to our next stop, Warehouse A. This three-story rickhouse was built in 1885 and has approximately 4,000 barrel capacity. Like all rickhouses, The aroma of aging bourbon filled the air inside with a nose-pleasing sweetness. Maker's Mark is also the only distiller to rotate its barrels from the upper to the lower levels of the rickhouse during the aging process. Our final stop was the limestone cellar. This cave-like building is a recent addition, 2016, to the Distillery campus. The cellar was specifically built to house the Maker's 46 and Maker's Mark Private Select barrels while they are being wood finished. Released in 2010, Maker's 46 was the first brand extension the company had ever done. Heaven Hill's main distillery is located in downtown Louisville. As there is no distillery on site, experiences at the Heaven Hill are centered around education and tastings.
Looks like another very modern type of distillery.
Oh, just because they have a new facility doesn't mean that they're not old. You know, I mean, the first one we went to, they were new. They didn't.
Yeah.
All the whiskey they had was 4 years old.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Oh, look at this little car.
Huh? You want to know how old it was? Heaven Hill established distillery, 1935. They just have a new headquarters. That's all.
We took a 90-minute bottle and bond tour and tasting.
Oh, it's like war equipment. You're going on a bourbon battle.
We're going on the bourbon. Who do you think's going to win, the bourbon or me? Probably the bourbon.
Do you feel the smell? Bourbon smell?
So this is Rickhouse 5. It is one of the oldest left on site, as it was built in 1971. Now, I told you guys that part of being a bonded warehouse was locks on the doors. Now, at one point in time, you had one lock with 2 keyholes in it. The only people that had those keys was your master distiller and your treasury agent who lived on site. Now, treasury agents no longer live on site, but both of them had to be present to unlock that door. Now, one of those more infamous treasury agents was John Fitzgerald. He was one of those treasury agents that lived on site. Now, he was known to like his bourbons and whiskeys, so much so that he was often caught thieving from those barrels. Now, they eventually nicknamed these barrels the Old Fitzgerald barrels. So in doing so, this is where the name for larceny came from, is from that story. We wanted to remember that story, so we named it larceny. The bottle is shaped like a keyhole, with keyhole on that front label, and keys on the back lip. So we like to know that those keys are either your keys to the rick house or your keys to the jailhouse, depending on whether or not you're going to commit larceny like Fitzgerald. So if my treasury agent will come up and unlock this lock for me. Alright, so today we are tasting first Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. It is on a rye bourbon mash bill, being 78% corn, 10% rye, and 12% malted barley. It is aged for 4 years and is going to come in at 100 proof. We have Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. So one of our first requirements with a bottle and bond is it can only be proofed down with pure water. Pure water is the only thing that you can add into a bottle and bond product.
During this experience, we learned some history and regulations of the Bottled and Bond Act of 1897 and enjoyed a progressive tasting of 4 Bottled and Bond whiskies, all while touring 2 of Heaven Hill's bonded warehouses. Heaven Hill Distillery has been family-owned and operated since 1935, so Jeff was right, it has quite a history. The reason that it looks so modern is that it was almost completely destroyed by the intense fire in 1996. It would go down in history as one of the worst distillery fires on record, ultimately eliminating 2% of the world's whiskey overnight. 7 of the warehouses burned to the ground. It was devastating, but not a total loss for Heaven Hill. 37 of its distillery warehouses survived the fire, like the one we visited, and the bourbon inside continued to age many more years before eventually moving on to the bottling process and enjoyed across the world.
You're one of the largest distillers?
Yes, the second largest in the United States.
Wow, who's number one?
Jim Beam.
Jim Beam, across the street.
The last distillery on our Bourbon Trail was Angel's Envy in Louisville. Actually, it was the most anticipated by Jeff Tours, since Angel's Envy is one of his favorite bourbons. So we were very excited to visit the distillery and to see the city. Although Louisville is one of the largest cities in Kentucky, it gives a feel of a small old town. Louisville is beautiful, with its gorgeous brick facades and old churches coinciding with fancy modern architectural buildings. There are 10 distillery tours in Bourbon City, and half within walking distance of each other in the downtown corridor. I was surprised to learn that Angel's Envy is a young brand. It was launched in 2013, but the distillery opened its doors in Louisville to the public only in 2016, offering a variety of tours, cocktail classes, and special events. Angel's Envy began as a family business. The distillery was the brainchild of Wes Henderson and his father, famed master distiller Lincoln Henderson. Angel's Envy bourbon is unique in that it's all cask finished. This means that after aging in a new charred oak container as required for bourbon, the spirit then spends additional time in port, rum, or other previously used barrels. This method allows the whiskey to acquire additional unique flavors, and thus sets Angel's Envy apart from other Kentucky distilleries, since all of their spirits are made in this fashion.
We are going to do a little experiment with it at the end, all right? You do it. How's that taste? Pretty smooth for 138 proof, yeah? All right. I hope you got that taste. I did. All right, so now we're going to give our hands a good shake, make sure all that excess is off of them, and then I want you to smell your hands. Just smell like corn. Yeah? Just a little bit? All right, wonderful. Now we're going to rub our hands together just a little bit. They start to get slightly tacky, and then I want you to give me 3 really good solid claps here, okay? All right, smell. This time, Cheerios or Corn Flakes, a little bit more grainy. Yeah? All right. We're going to give them another good rub, a little bit more aggressive this time. And 3 more solid claps here for me. Smell. Popcorn or hay. Some. A little bit. All right. Last time, but no need to clap. Just really aggressive. Bring some friction in those hands. And once you feel that heat in there, you can go ahead and smell one last time. Fritos or puppy paws. All that heat making its way back up. This is our grain well, just kind of showing you the ratios of what we're working with in our mash. We do use 72% corn, 18% rye, 10% malted barley. Now our rye mash is a little bit different. It is 95% rye, 5% malted barley. So no corn in there whatsoever. All right, don't stick too close too long. You found out the hard way.
That's good.
You think it's so good?
I like the story behind its name. It is well known that the small percentage of spirit lost each year during barrel aging to evaporation is traditionally called the angel's share. Reportedly, after tasting his finished bourbon, Lincoln joked, "If the angel's share is what evaporates, then the angel's envy is what is left in the barrel." Thus, angel's envy was born.
So when you pick up that glass of bourbon, I want you to give it a really nice twirl around the glass. Does anybody know what those droplets coming down the glass are called?
Legs.
Legs. So the longer those legs linger on the glass, the longer they're gonna linger on your palate. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna hold it up to the light for me, giving it a nice tilt, and you'll see where that rim around the bourbon is sitting. It's got a little bit of a red tinge or ruby hue. This is because even a short 4 to 6 months in its secondary barrel is gonna give it a lot of color definition. Now what we're gonna do is nose our bourbon. When you do this, the only correct way is with your lips pursed, your mouth open. This allows those ethanol fumes to go in your nose, out your mouth, without burning all of your insides.
After learning so much at the great Angel's Envy Distillery, we continued our bourbon tour at the Louisville's fine dining scene.
Wow, spectacular, huh?
Cold.
Louisville might not be a bad place to live either.
Oh, here's the Buck's restaurant, Jeff.
This is it?
This is it.
Man, I knew it. Wow.
Nice.
Spectacular. We have reservations for 5:30. Williams.
We are experts in bourbon now, Jeff.
Well, I was an expert before. I just didn't want to tell you. That's just what we see. That's the only thing we see in Total Wine. But look at this. They got this cast strength. They got 46. They've got French oak.
And this is all bourbon.
Look. This is an old Maker's Mark.
Wow. Show me. Oh, looks beautiful.
Yeah.
This is quite a collection of bourbons.
So browsing. I'll tell you, this is the neatest bar I've ever seen. Let's get a Austin Hope wine by the glass.
Okay.
Do you want to cover these some?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get Austin Hope by the glass.
Okay.
Oh, what a great choice.
Apart from the American native spirit, Louisville is also famous for, yes, Kentucky Derby. And our stay in Louisville coincided with the Kentucky Derby weekend. We did not have time to attend the race itself, but we took a guided track tour and saw the Derby contenders work out, plus visited the Kentucky Derby Museum. Learned so much.
Usually not the case. A lot of times
What do you think, honey?
at least once before. It's up.
Think you want to go to the races?
So is this track any wider to accommodate a larger race, or is it just a bigger traffic jam?
Honestly, it is kind of a traffic jam. Now, in 1975, they tried putting 23 horses in this derby. That was not a good idea. They stopped it after that. It is 88 to I think 92 feet wide here, and 114 on the turn. So at least on the turns, they have more room. The statistic for a horse to go down or have an issue is 1 out of every 1,000 starts, which is 1 out of every 1,000 races. I have seen it on the track once in my life. I have. I've also seen it once on TV, so total 2 times. Ooh, that's a great question. Statistically, 7, 5, and 10 have won the most. Those numbers. 7, 5, and 10.
What about the color?
Ooh, probably chestnut or bay, which is that brown and dark brown. Yeah, that's usually the color that wins the most. Yeah, grays don't win a lot. If they do, it's they either go, there's a term. They say the grays either go big or go home. Yeah, so if you ever bet on a gray, most likely they'll do really good or not good at all. No.
So do you want to be a jockey, huh?
Why do you think women have never won a derby?
Well, I can tell you that exactly the reason. So I'm glad you brought that up. There are female jockeys. There are. The reason why you do not see a lot of female jockeys, though, is because of the 70s and 80s. There were I'm going to quote 2 female jockeys here. The industry really didn't open up to females till about the 1970s or 80s. 1 out of every 10 jockeys are now female. Rosie and Dubrovnik, Donna Brothers, female jockeys, have quoted this. The reason why you don't see a lot of female jockeys nowadays is because women are built anatomically different. When you have a 1,200-pound animal that needs to go this way and it's going that way, you need a lot of upper body strength. Men usually have the upper body strength, while females have the lower body strength. Now, my argument is look at gymnastics. You need both.
Yeah.
You do. But I will say this, that ever since the past 15, 20 years, there's been more women that have been exercise riders rather than males. So you'll see a lot of them not as a jockey, but as an exercise rider. A lot of the schools that teach horse racing and a lot of the jockey schools are actually in South and Central America. They teach some of the best, those are the best places to teach how to jockey.
I have to say this is fun to watch.
Yeah.
Beautiful horses.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely gorgeous horses.
Do you know how much the winner will get?
We'll have to Google that. That's a good
I
question.
know already. 1.7 million. Do you know how much a jockey will get? Of that?
200,000.
10%.
10%?
From which 40% will go to the agent.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you know, that's a
But
typical sports
even if
deal.
you steal the last one, you will still get money, you will get paid. Immersive experience.
I think it's an immersive experience.
Yeah.
Did you get that? I think that's profound that I just said.
Just repeat what I said.
Yeah. Oh, when I said it, it was more profound.
Oh, okay. Good. Makes me dizzy.
Me too.
Louisville was so much fun. 5 days that we had there was definitely not enough. Therefore, Louisville is on our must-revisit list now. What was next on our route? Indiana. See you there.